Hey everyone, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. You know, in 3 of my previous blogs, I've been mentioning that this fall, Robert Zemeckis will be releasing his own version of Roald Dahl's The Witches. And while I am interested in seeing that, I can't help but look back at other Roald Dahl movies that I've blogged over the past few years, like The BFG, Matilda, James and the Giant Peach, and of course, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But for today's episode, thanks to a request by my good friend Ethan Jones from Musical Theater Village, I'm going to blog a fantastic movie, and the person responsible for it will be none other than Wes Anderson. Released on November 13th, 2009, the movie is Fantastic Mr. Fox. So, let's get started, shall we? After 12 years of bucolic bliss, Mr. Fox breaks a promise to his wife and raids the farms of their human neighbors, Bogus, Bunce, and Bean. Giving in to his animal instincts endangers not only his marriage, but also the lives of his family and their animal friends. When the farmers force Mr. Fox and company deep underground, he has to resort to his natural craftiness to rise above the opposition. So, what do I think about this movie? Well, what can I say? That this movie is absolutely fantastic. And I feel bad that I didn't see it in theaters. But to further explain why I like this movie, let's move on to Mustang notes. The movie was directed by Wes Anderson, who after this film directed Isle of Dogs. Anderson stated that he signed on for the movie was because Roald Dahl was one of his heroes. Development on the project began in 2004 at the collaboration between Anderson and Henry Selick, who worked with Anderson on the 2004 film The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou under Revolution Studios. In 2007, after Revolution folded, Henry Selick left the project to direct Coraline, and he was replaced by Mark Gustafson. And work on the film moved to 20th Century Fox. Production began in London in 2007. As for the stop motion, well, in my opinion, I think the stop motion is a lot better than I thought it was back when I blogged Isle of Dogs. Mainly because back then, I was more used to the stop motion by Laika, Tim Burton, Rankin Bass, Aardman, or Ray Harryhausen. But still, the stop motion is a little bit choppy at times, but I think it's very unique that everything in this movie is stop motion, with no CGI elements added into it. No, I'm serious. Elements like water, fire, and smoke are made into stop motion. Now that's just fantastic. As for the story, well, just recently, after reading the book, I found out that the story the novel covers mostly amount to the second act of the movie. Also, Wes Anderson has added in some new scenes to serve for the film's beginning and end. The new scenes precede Mr. Fox's plan to steal from the 3 farmers and follow their bulldozing of the hill, beginning with the flooding of the tunnel. Speaking of which, let's talk a little bit about the 3 farmers. Walter Bogus, a fat chicken farmer, Nathan Bunce, a dwarfish duck and goose farmer, and Franklin Bean, a skinny turkey and apple farmer. I find these guys to not only be greedy, but they can be very threatening to Mr. Fox's family, especially when they try to dig and starve them out. And now let's move on to the characters and the voice actors. Mr. Fox is voiced by George Clooney, who was in Disney's Tomorrowland and 2 of the Spy Kids movies. To me, George Clooney's performance is absolutely fantastic. He has that warm southern delivery in his voice, which makes him sound like a mob boss, a working father, or a sly thief. Plus, I like his trademark whistle and click. His wife, Felicity Fox, is voiced by Meryl Streep, who got to be in Into the Woods, the Mamma Mia movies, Mary Poppins Returns, and A Series of Unfortunate Events. In my eyes, I like her motherly voice, and I think Felicity can be a very struggling wife. Plus, while she does love her husband, she does not like his recklessness. Mr. Fox's son, Ash, is voiced by Jason Schwartzman, who got to be in Saving Mr. Banks and last year's Netflix Christmas movie, Klaus. To me, Ash displays a moody, eccentric personality as he struggles to emulate his father, only to fail repeatedly. Next we have Mr. Fox's nephew, Christopherson Silver Fox, voiced by Wes Anderson's brother, Eric. To me, Christopherson is a rather mild-mannered fox. He is very considerate, and he is not, well, confrontational unless someone is being offended, in which case he will step in. Also, he is very loyal towards his friends and family. Plus, Christopherson is extremely skilled in many areas of expertise, mainly karate, and he enjoys meditating and playing the kazoo. As for the other characters, we have Clive Badger, voiced by Bill Murray, best known as Baloo from the 2016 Jungle Book remake and the Ghostbusters movies, which makes me excited for the 3rd movie this summer. This character is Mr. Fox's best friend and attorney. Despite his frustration, Badger remains a loyal friend to Mr. Fox, if disagreeable in his ideals. Next up we have Coach Skip, voiced by Owen Wilson, best known from the Cars trilogy, the Night at the Museum trilogy, and Freebirds. This character possesses a biased attitude towards the elite children in his Whack-Bat team. He praises Christopherson for being Mr. Fox's nephew, to which Ash points out that he comes from the maternal side of the family. Finally, we have Rat, voiced by Willem Dafoe, who has been in Aquaman and Finding Nemo. While he serves as security for Mr. Bean's seller of apple cider, he appears more self-serving, as well as loving nothing more than drinking cider in solitude. Rat also attempts to intimidate Mr. Fox with sleazy remarks about his wife, and he attempts to kidnap his son. And now let's move on to my final words. Overall, Fantastic Mr. Fox is, well, fantastic. The stop motion is very unique, and I think it's a lot better than I remembered during my blog of Isle of Dogs. And I think Wes Anderson did a great job directing it. The story is great, the cinematography is visually stunning, and the characters are all outstanding. I give this film a full 100%. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to join me again for my next blog. Mustang Power.